Hi there, I'm Jeff Gallashaw, and we are finally back with a new episode of Unfinished Business. And as usual, I have my co-host and guest star, Andre Joseph. And this week we are going to talk about, oh my god, the house party movies. I know, it's the subject you've all been waiting for. And actually, we have a special guest today. Some of you might recognize him from the CineFile's, but today he will be our bartender since it is his abode. And this is Edwin Samuelson, in case you don't know who it is. And what will you be making us today, Edwin?
Well, fuzzy navels.
Okay.
You guys like fuzzy navels? It's a real manly drink.
I've heard of it.
I haven't had one before.
Well, I'll make you guys some. I hope you'll enjoy it. I think it does well with the house party movies. It's house parties about drinking, right?
Well, it's more about dancing, but okay. Can you make anything else, Edwin?
I can make a fuzzy navel.
Okay.
Can you make it old-fashioned?
I can make a fuzzy navel.
Can you make a vodka cranberry?
I can make a fuzzy navel.
Let's get this party started. Oh, God. Let's get this party started.
Let's get this party started right!
Okay, see? It's infectious, the groove. This is now a real party. With House Party from 1989, directed by Reginald Hudlin. Now, before we talk about this film, a little trivia just to get it out of the way. Originally, this movie was supposed to star DJ Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith. Apparently, I guess talks broke down, and so they went to kind of another popular rap group of the day, Kid and Play. Also, that Robin Harris and John Witherspoon, all their lines are all improvised. None of it was in the script.
This is one of those movies I grew up watching. I snuck into my parents' bedroom to watch it when I was a kid because of all the foul language, of course. But it is a staple of the early 90s. You know, you're talking about a time when black films were starting to come back because of the new black cinema movement of Spike Lee, Keenan Ivory Wayans, and yes, Reginald Hudlin being one of those guys that sort of helped that movement. But instead of going the route of doing parodies like Keenan or doing something that's more serious like Spike's films, he went the route of doing a movie that I think any black teenager, or just teenagers in general, can relate to even to this day. Just Friday night, going out, having a good time at your neighbor's house, and having all the kids from your school come together just to party, and all the craziness that sometimes happens in the process of trying to meet girls or avoid bullies and that sort of thing.
Well, this is actually one of my favorite films of all time. I see, to show you my age, I saw this in a theater with my father. He took me to see it. We came in, I think, about 10 minutes late. And we sat through the film, loved it so much that we were only supposed to sit through it again to see the first 10 minutes, but we ended up staying watching the whole film. I love this film because this is one of our, well, at least my first introduction to Martin Lawrence as a comedian.
Yes.
I liked him so much that I would watch Kid and Play on interview shows thinking he was their actual DJ because I just wanted to see him. And in this movie, oh my God, you have the beautiful A.J. Johnson. You have Tisha Campbell, who would go on later to star in the show Martin. You had Full Force.
Full Force.
Full Force. I mean, if you're talking about 80s or late 80s fashion style, Full Force had the full range. First of all, their high. Everybody talks about Kids, or was it Play, who had the high hair?
Kid had the...
Well, he had this high top, but look at theirs. Theirs is all puffed up. And first of all, these are the oldest high school looking kids of all of Full Force. And I mean, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but let's face it, for people who like kind of are talking about how gay other people are, they didn't have the most masculine outfits because everything was like a pirate shirt with the muscles. And you had, I think, Bow-Legged Lou, who was playing, you know, the guy with the high voice. Like, I'm going to kick their fucking ass. And, I mean, there's just so many cameos by so many, like, not, like, I would say more... George Clinton as the DJ. I mean, this movie's just a treasure trove of memories. And even if you don't know who everybody is, or if you can't catch it the first time, watching it many times over, you'll always find something new. And to me, that shows an enriched project.
Enriched project. Well, enrich your mind with this fuzzy navel a la Edwin Samuelson.
Before I drank this, what did you think of House Party in particular?
Oh, I love House Party. I remember when it opened back in 1990. It got a lot of hype, and I was very surprised because, it was like, you see these low-budget urban comedies and they'd go into a theater and just leave. This one actually played for a little bit. And it was getting a good rap. And I don't know, my friend was a fan of Kid and Play, I guess from the videos. There used to be this channel called The Box. You guys remember that?
I remember
The
that.
Jukebox Network. You used to pay $3. So when you were like a kid, you'd see these videos. And that's how we got, introduced to these characters. Because Kid and Play, let's face it, those guys are very memorable, especially with that long tabletop head. I mean, or a pencil head, I think they call him, a eraser head. You can't forget him. He's a very memorable character. And when I saw the movie, and it was a very refreshing change than the movies that I saw with black youths at that time, because it was the first time that I've seen like black youths, with the exception of Cooley High, treated as real teenagers, not as gangsters, not as thugs. They were middle-class teenagers. And the thing I like about it is that, Kid is a nice kid. He's actually a nice guy, and you really see that his dad is trying to do him right. And the thing about it, of course, him being the young kid, well, he's not so young, he's pretty the oldest teenager, but he rebels against his dad. And those scenes with Robin Harris is a man that left us way too early.
He was a genius.
Absolute genius. I mean, think of it, he's only been in a handful of movies, but he is so memorable a character. It's a shame. He died for his time, and, I think his scenes with Kid are a highlight. And I enjoyed the zaniness. It's basically, I say, an urban version kind of After Hours in a lot of respects. All the crazy stuff that happens to him with the cops. And let's not forget John Witherspoon.
Yes, John Witherspoon was the neighbor.
Enough of that public enema. That always had me cry laughing.
Well, I just like the scene where John Witherspoon is yelling at the window and is cursing at all of them. Then the girl comes by and he's like, "Hey, baby." Anyhow, he just switches on a dime.
Yeah, it's smart because the people that directed the movie are intelligent people. Reginald Hudlin was a guy that, it's sad, this was like his first film really, and he failed to live up his potential, But this film, to show you how great it was, Eddie Murphy saw it and they hired him to do Boomerang, and that should have been a really good movie, but he tried to make Eddie Murphy, as you know, made these very hip, edgy urban comedies.
Yep.
He tried to do the same with Eddie Murphy and dress him up in a suit, and you can't just dress somebody in a suit and sell them as this character. It wasn't funny. It wasn't what Eddie Murphy was.
Well, this was also Reginald Hudlin's, it started as a thesis project for him in film school, and then, he decided he got a little money, and they convinced him to add, somebody with some panache and stars, and that's how it ended up at a studio, because this was basically an independent project originally.
I do love the film.
Oh, this is amazing. Unbelievable.
Really?
It's very sweet. I can barely taste the alcohol, which is how I like my drinks.
Well, there you go.
Same
Thanks.
here.
This is the official drink of the CineFile's. It's orange juice, peppermint schnapps, and vodka.
Too bad Edwin Samuelson had to leave, but he was great being on the show.
I mean, there's just so many memories that I have of it. All the scenes with Kid in full force, the scene in the lunchroom, that stands out to me. Obviously, the ending when you think he's not going to get caught when he sneaks back in the house and Robin Harris comes into the room and whoops his ass all through the credits. Those are things that really stand out to me as I remember.
I actually surprisingly like how it has a little message at the end about like safe sex, because right when it's time for them to get busy, she refused to have sex without a condom, and most films of that period are a little more exploitive. I mean, it does kind of have a sex scene in it, but it's rare that you see a teenage film that takes a little responsibility and kind of shows that the teenagers aren't smooth, they're kind of dumb too in a way, because she doesn't know the right name for a condom and he doesn't know the name for birth control for her. But I mean, it's just, to me, a monumental film that, I mean, a lot of people know, but I don't think it gets the respect it deserves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also because maybe its sequels weren't quite as good. And House Party 2, now, they're still friends, but Kid goes off to college. Unfortunately, with the passing of Robin Harris, Pops isn't in it, but he's trying to fulfill his wish to Pops by going to college. So is Sydney. A.J. Johnson not in this film, and Martin Lawrence on the periphery. In other words, they all still hang out, but, Kid's focused on college. Play is, I think, trying to get them as a group sign.
He's working in a record store.
Yeah, and, it's still kind of an all-star cast because they kind of add Queen Latifah, and for some odd reason towards the end when the Jammy Jam starts, Tony shows up.
Ralph Tresvant's in it.
I'm just like, all these musical stars are in it, and my problem with this, while I still find it entertaining, and there's a bunch of cameos from people from the first film, but this seems a little more cartoonish and a little more grand because, it definitely delivers a message. Stay in school, go to college, black education. But it just feels, it doesn't mix all that well because while it's hammering this message to you, it's also then saying, oh, but look at this ridiculousness. And again, kid's still trying to have sex with Sidney through most of the film. And now he has, competition from another guy. And, I mean, like I said, it's entertaining for what it is, but it's a shadow of the first film, for me.
It's certainly a guilty pleasure that I've watched over and over the years. But like you say, I mean, it's a film that can't decide on its own tone. It can't decide if it's a direct sequel to House Party or a movie adaptation of A Different World or even just an adaptation of the infamous Kid and Play cartoon that didn't last long on Saturday mornings.
Oh, yes.
You have these funny, very outlandish scenes, the addition of Amon, kind of giving like a little caper plot where she steals Kid's scholarship check. And then you have like these more serious scenes with like George Stanford Brown playing the black college professor and Tony Burton from Rocky playing the school chef that Kid works for to make some money back. And those were like some pretty good roles, especially George Stanford Brown. But it is...
when he had hair.
Yeah, back when he had a lot of hair. But I would say the fact that they went more the cartoonish route and everything's more over the top and more grand than the first film takes away from the sort of reality base of the first movie. It's a lot harder to relate to that film compared to the original.
And then, unfortunately, 3 years later, the well was not done, so they decided to make House Party 3. First of all, Kid gets married, and it's not to Sidney.
Yeah.
And, they pick this woman who's just, I mean, at the time she was a stand-up comedian, but she's not very funny. And I saw this again in theaters, and I just watched the horror unfold in front of me, because you have all these comedians, you have somewhat of a story, but none of it works. It's not funny. I mean, Bernie Mac's funny here and there, but this film also seems, at least the other films seemed a little more encompassing towards women. This one seems very misogynistic, like they're only sexual things. You had Candy Alexander, who at the time was, riding the horse from CB4, but then they don't have her play a sexy role. She's just wisecracking. They have gross out scenes where they're working at a production company and the guy's forcing them to eat toe jam, because they can't get... And, I mean, you have TLC in it. They seem to be, like, the big stars, the big musical stars. One thing I haven't mentioned about the previous film, each film has a dance sequence and a single, notable.
Yes.
This is the first House Party movie that does not have a notable song or dancing.
And for good reason.
And, I mean, at the time, the group Immature IMX with young Marcus Houston, they give more of the plot and story to them than they do to actual Kid and Play, and Kid, by the way, has now gotten braids. He doesn't have the high top fade anymore. And, I mean, everybody's a little long in tooth, which they acknowledge, because now they're adults. But it's like, you went to college and you're still only a college you're still only trying to be a record promoter. You went to college, you don't want to achieve anything else. Plus, they give him a senile grandmother. I mean, Bernie Mac goes to meet the in-laws and he says, oh, you remind me of a hoe I used to know. And I'm like, this is supposed to be charm? This was to me like the death of my youth watching this film, because it was like, first one, great. Second one, good. This one, I just wanted to cry once it was all over.
This is one of those movies that should have just never been made. You talk about when this came out in '94 and gangster rap was the big trend at that time, with Ice Cube and NWA and Public Enemy and so forth. And you were starting to get into like Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur. Kid and Play was pretty much just totally played out by this point. So the fact that they even made this movie just to continue to capitalize on whatever success they had left was, just mind-boggling to me. But most of all, the fact that you built up this relationship with Kid and Sidney throughout the first and second films, only to bring some other chick out of nowhere
Yes.
for him to be the love interest. And mind you, okay, you have a nice little plot where he still has feelings for Sydney and he's not sure to go through with this wedding, but still, you're cheating the audience by not giving them what they want.
It's obviously something that feels more like I'm just trying to make a quick buck, because there isn't even any full force in it. And what were they busy doing? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's directed by Eric Meza. I had to look this up just to find out who he was.
He directed a number of NWA music videos in the 80s.
And I guess this film, maybe, it's like The Nutty Professor 2, whereas instead of focusing on Sherman Klump and the Nutty Professor 2 was all about watch Eddie Murphy play all these different roles, but it has a theme of family. This, House Party 3, is all about family, but we grew up watching Kid and Play, so why are we focusing on all these side characters who aren't that interesting? They made one more film that didn't even have Kid and Play involved. Following the lead from House Party 3, they made House Party 4. Down to the Last Minute is its surtitle, from 2001, directed by Chris Stokes and starring IMX Immature, but they're not reprising their roles from Part 3. So this film, do you guys really care? But I'll tell you about it anyway. Basically, guess what? His parents are out of town. Guess what he decides to do? Throw a house party. And guess what? He invites his girlfriend. And who plays his girlfriend? Megan Good, one of her first film roles. That's the only reason it's noteworthy. And the other two guys from IMX get hooked up with those really fat kids who were in The Nutty Professor. And in this movie, they play girls. Bad cross-dressing comedy, bad stereotypical comedy. I was really hoping there was going to be a Kid and Play cameo just to, make it worth sitting through. But unfortunately, that never arrived. And now I hear word that they're making a fifth one in South Africa. I guess it'll double for Los Angeles. But, I mean, there is a kind of a spin-off Kid and Play movie still left that's not part of the House Party. And I would have rather, even though it wouldn't fit, this is what I would prefer House Party 3 to have been. It's a film called Class Act. And in this one, it's wacky now. One's a criminal, one's an honor student. They get their files mixed up, so the honor student ends up, everybody thinking that he's a criminal at the new school, and the criminal plays the honor student, and they advise each other to get through school because the criminal needs good grades so he doesn't have to go to jail, and the honor student needs to pass gym.
It was another one of those movies I used to watch on HBO every weekend when it was on, and it's a nice little premise, kid playing Duncan Penderjuice. I mean, that name is just funny in itself. And him and Play having to switch up with Play being the smart kid, but obviously now he's winning over Karen Parsons. He's got Rhea Perlman as his art teacher. And then you got Kid who's trying to avoid this full force wannabe dude in the movie while trying to be this great football star. So it had a lot of good funny moments. You could see they could have gone somewhere if the direction of their careers in movies had gone much better than House Party 5,
Well, I mean, this was actually filmed right before House Party 3. And this, I remember it being a mini hit, but for some odd reason, it just wasn't the hit they needed. So, of course, they had to go back to the well and make House Party 3. But I would definitely suggest this film over House Party 3. Think of it as the third unofficial film. That ends this business for this week. But as you know, we always have unfinished business. But as you all know, there's always unfinished business out there. And I hope you're there next week. I'm going to my Batman voice. But I do have to ask you, in fact, name a movie that you think people should go see.
Pacific Rim.
Have you seen Pacific Rim? If not, why not? Because obviously it's awesome. I saw it. I liked it. So, until next time, I am Jeff Gallashaw. He is
Andre Joseph.
And this was Unfinished Business.
Well, I'm glad you have Optimum too. Optimize your home with Ultra 50 speeds from Optimum. Just $89.90 a month for 2